Hello and welcome back. We've explored some of the best episodes from this iconic 90s horror classic. In each video, viewers share their favorite episodes down in the comment section, and I recap them in the next video. That being said, this is our 5th video on Tales from the Crypt. I absolutely love this show, and I'm thrilled to have found a community of like-minded fans. Alright, that's enough mushy talk. It's time to hold on to your dookie, because it's about to get spooky. Our first segment is from Season 5, Episode 6, titled 2 for the Show. Andy and Emma are having dinner, but Emma is too distracted to pay attention to Andy talking about his work. When she finally responds, she drops a bombshell. She's leaving him because she wants a passionate romance.
I said I'm leaving you. I want a divorce.
You what?
All you care about anymore is work. I want passion. I want hot sex on a white sand beach. I want to have a little fun and adventure while I'm still young enough to enjoy it.
All right. What's this really about? What, you want me to increase your allowance? Is that it?
Andy assumes she's angling for a raise in her allowance, but Emma angrily reveals she's in love with someone else and plans to run away with him to Chicago. As she packs her bag, she mocks Andy, calling him a schmuck.
Don't do this to me, Emma. You know what kind of schmuck I'm gonna look like?
That's what really bothers you, isn't it? Well, let me put your mind to rest. You already look like a schmuck, because you are a schmuck.
Enraged, Andy snaps and fatal fight between the two ensues. Officer Smith receives a call regarding a scream from the apartment complex.
Police department. Are you sure it was a scream?
Officer Fine, on the other phone arguing with his wife, eagerly volunteers to take the call, finding the address surprisingly familiar.
What was that call just now?
Some woman. Says she heard a fight next door, and then a scream, and then nothing.
Did I hear the name Conway?
Yeah.
They in Wood Glen, Unit 402?
As a matter of fact, you know?
Meanwhile, Andy attempts to cram Emma's body into the trunk, but struggles to make it fit. There's a knock at the door. Officer Fine arrives on the scene. Andy hurriedly tidies up before letting him in. Fine mentions a report of a scream, but Andy brushes it off, claiming his wife left after an argument and is en route to Chicago. Fine notices the cut on Andy's cheek, which Andy attributes to a clumsy shaving accident. Fine checks the apartment and spots blood on the corner of a trunk in the bedroom. When he opens the trunk, it's filled with towels. He also notices a Marysville high ring on the floor, but doesn't act upon it. In the bathroom, where Emma's body lies hidden in a bubble bath, Officer Fine doesn't notice anything suspicious and leaves. As he exits, Andy begins the grim task of disposing of Emma's body, coldly muttering to himself,
Looks like you'll be making that trip to Chicago after all, honey.
Later that night at the train station, Andy drags a large trunk, intending to ship it to Chicago. Officer Fine reappears and observes Andy as a luggage carrier notes that he forgot to fill out a name and address. Andy, caught off guard, quickly improvises, claiming his wife called from Chicago and that they've reconciled, forcing him to buy a last-minute train ticket he hadn't planned on purchasing. Fine sees him off, only to board the same train moments later, taking a seat directly across from Andy and making him increasingly uncomfortable.
Train gets in Chicago around 6 a.m. For lucky. Long time no see, huh?
You going to Chicago?
Yep. Case I'm working on. I can't really talk about it.
The two men converse about their wives and relationship troubles. Finally probes Andy about how he would go about killing his wife hypothetically, suggesting strangulation with bare hands. Andy strongly denies being a killer, hastily exiting the conversation. In the dining car, Fines reasserts his presence and shares a meal with Andy. He slyly points out another passenger, claiming with nonchalance that the man is transporting a staggering $5 million worth of drugs. Andy visibly relaxes, assuming that Fine's focus is directed elsewhere.
What's wrong? You look a little pale. How much of this stuff did you eat?
I'm fine.
See that guy back there?
No. Does he seem like the kind of guy who's running $5 million worth of drugs?
Drugs?
You see, the airlines ain't safe anymore. You know, they got the metal detectors and shit. So So now these guys, they're running drugs on the rails. That guy, this train, that's a case I'm working on.
Really? That's what you've been working on?
However, Fine's warning about FBI agents boarding the train later to conduct a thorough search raises Andy's anxiety, leading him to become increasingly paranoid. Desperate to avoid discovery, Andy stealthily slips into the luggage car, swaps the name tag on his trunk with another one, and hastily jettisons his original trunk off the moving train. Andy returns to Fine, exuding confidence, and boldly declares that he's ready to unveil the contents of his trunk to the FBI agents. However, his horror reaches new heights as the switched trunk is opened, revealing a gruesome, mutilated corpse, but not Emma's. Desperation in his voice, Andy vehemently denies ownership of the trunk, disclosing that he had cast his own over the train moments earlier. Fine calmly reveals that Andy never left his line of sight, refuting his denial. In a desperate attempt to shift the blame, Andy accuses Fine of having an affair with Emma. However, Fine clarifies that the Marysville High ring he discovered was actually a woman's ring, revealing a scandalous secret.
You gave her.
That ring under your bed was a woman's ring. It was my wife's. My wife gave it to your wife when they started seeing each other. That's my wife in your trunk. Like you didn't know. Admit it! When you found out your wife was leaving you for another woman, you went berserk. Decided to get some revenge. That's why you murdered my wife, isn't it?
No, that's not true.
What are you saying, that you didn't kill anybody?
No, I mean, yes, I killed my wife.
Then where's her body?
It's in the trunk I threw out the drain.
You saying you killed them both?
No, I
You
didn't.
lying sack of shit!
As Andy is apprehended by law enforcement, Fine really points out that Emma had never left for Chicago at all, instead embarking on a flight to Cancun, having been led to believe that Andy's statement about her disappearance was false. In a shocking twist conclusion, he is seen perusing a newspaper article about the peculiar case. With a sinister smirk, he reaches into a trunk and retrieves Emma's severed arm. In a chilling moment, he mutters a dark joke before proceeding to feed the remains to a disposal unit, signifying the horrifying end to the story.
You know, Emma, you don't look so bad for a woman who's been hacked up and thrown off a train.
In our second segment from Season 6, Episode 1, titled None But the Lonely Heart, Howard Prince is a con man working with his partner Morty. The two are on the brink of being arrested by the IRS, as they are due in court for tax evasion. To avoid this fate, they devise a plan. Howard will marry wealthy old women and kill them for their money.
Whatever you think.
And I told you that I won't do it that way. As far as I'm concerned, this is your money. I'm merely managing it for you. All right?
Where do I sign?
With the aid of Baxter, the unsuspecting owner of a video dating service, Howard identifies the wealthiest elderly women in the city. He woos and marries 3 widows, Claire, Elizabeth, and Matilda, in succession. After gaining their trust, he gives their butlers the night off, sets up a romantic dinner, and poisons their glasses of red wine while abstaining from drinking himself. Each woman dies from a poison-induced heart attack, and Howard calls 911 at the last moment, feigning hysteria. He even justifies his actions to Morty, claiming he's sparing the women from loneliness by killing them rather than simply taking their money and leaving, which he considers cruel and unusual. Howard's next target is a widow named Effie Gluckman. However, as he begins to woo her, he receives repeated anonymous messages warning him to end his crime spree or face the consequences. Convinced Morty is setting him up, Howard confronts him in his office. Catching Morty shredding incriminating documents, Howard grabs him by his necktie, which becomes caught in the shredder, breaking Morty's neck. The next day, after marrying Effie at City Hall, Howard receives a second warning. This time, he suspects Baxter has uncovered his scheme. Howard confronts him, grabbing Baxter by his tie and throwing him headfirst into a television set, electrocuting him.
Hi, sweetheart. Listen, I'm sorry I had to run out on you like that, but something came up.
That night, as he prepares another deadly dinner for Effie, her butler, Stanhope, threatens him with a gun, revealing that he knows Howard is the widower of Claire, Elizabeth, and Matilda. Stanhope offers Howard a chance to leave and never return, but Howard declines. He attacks Stanhope before he can fire, snapping the butler's neck with military precision. Howard's plan appears to be on track, but Effie doesn't succumb to the poison. Panicking, he throws her down the staircase.
She staggered to the stairs! And I tried to stop her, but she fell! Please hurry! I think she's dead!
Days after Effie's funeral, as Howard prepares to flee the country, he finds yet another ominous message on his door. He is instructed to meet the messenger at Effie's crypt. There he encounters the gravedigger, who admits to sending the warnings, claiming he was trying to save Howard from himself. Unwilling to listen, Howard grabs the gravedigger's shovel and kills him.
There's a penalty for wasting my time.
But as he prepares to hide the body in Effie's coffin, he discovers it's empty. Howard hears a voice and turns to see Effie, now a zombie. She isn't alone. Claire, Elizabeth, and Matilda have also risen from the dead, their decomposed appearances more grotesque than the last. Surrounded, Howard tries to escape, but the undead women tell him they cannot live or die without him. To finally rest in peace, they devour him alive. Next is an episode with two of my favorite actors, people who live in brass hearses. Billy DeLuca and his brother Virgil, played by Bill Paxton and Brad Dourif, are planning a heist at the ice cream factory where Billy currently works. While they review their plan, Virgil watches cartoons, leading to a misunderstanding about the sequence of events. This frustrates Billy, who loses his temper. Virgil berates himself, but Billy brushes it off and tells him to get ready. The next day, an ice cream truck rolls down the street, driven by Earl Bird, a local favorite among children. Earl entertains the kids with a puppet show, earning their applause.
Hey, Mr. Bird, it looks like all our friends want ice cream.
Of course they do, little Willie.
While this is happening, Billy confronts Earl, accusing him of being the reason he went to prison. Earl defends himself, explaining that Billy was stealing and trimming profits, leaving him no choice but to report him. Billy appears to make peace, asking for something buttery from the menu. When Earl says no to butternut, butterbrickle, and buttermilk, Billy settles for 2 butterscotch ice creams. As Billy pays, he notices Earl has a large box of cash in his truck. Back in the car, Billy gives Virgil one of the ice creams and vents about Earl turning him in.
Thanks.
You'll get yours tomorrow, Bird.
Billy, he's just an old puppet, man.
I don't care if he can pull monkeys out of his ass with a hairpin. I want payback!
Oh, sure, Billy, anything you say. You done hard time.
Billy vows to get even for the 2 years he spent in prison because of Earl's betrayal. At the factory the following day, CEO Mrs. Grafungar berates her employees for slacking off and emphasizes Earl's efficiency as an example. When Earl arrives to pick up his order, Grafungar attempts to flirt with him, suggesting a date or dinner featuring her green bean and potato chip casserole. Earl politely declines both offers, which upsets her. After paying for his order, he leaves. Meanwhile, Billy and Virgil spy on Earl, watching him count his money, and review their plan again. Billy insults Virgil, causing him to threaten to back out of the heist. To calm him, Billy manipulates Virgil, claiming everyone is plotting against them.
Virgil, please. We don't have time for this shit right now. I need you on this one.
No, you don't.
Oh, yes, I do.
No, you don't even...
We're a team.
You don't even like
Yeah, we
me.
are.
You're
I do like
always
it.
yelling at me and you're hitting me and stuff.
No,
and
you
you're
got
just...
that all wrong, baby brother. Don't you get it? Don't you see? It's not me. It's them.
Who?
Them, everybody. Everybody out there saying the DeLuca brothers are shit. Screw them. They're garbage. They're scum.
Later, Mrs. Graffungar orders Virgil to load Earl's truck, but Virgil snaps and attacks her in a locked room. Though she survives, she crawls out bleeding. As Earl grows impatient, Billy tries to keep Graffungar hidden by using a nearby hook to drag her out of sight.
Come on.
Earl eventually drives off, leaving Billy and Virgil to realize that the factory safe is locked. Frustrated, Virgil suggests going after Earl directly for the money. They break into his house, guns drawn, and demand the cash.
Hands where we can see them, Bird. We want it all. We don't mean 31 flavors.
Yeah!
Show them we got ways of making them talk.
Right, Billy?
Earl tries to escape, but Virgil shoots him in the head.
You f***ing idiot.
Wouldn't tell us where the money was, would he?
Is he gonna tell us now? Huh? Is he?
With Earl seemingly dead, the brothers search the house. Billy discovers a large freezer filled with money disguised as ice cream and calls for Virgil. Suddenly, a gunshot rings out, and Billy's lower leg is blown off.
Original. Virgil! Get in here! Woo-hoo! Hey, Virgil!
You just couldn't leave well enough alone, could you?
Earl emerges, alive and armed, revealing that his twin brother, whom Virgil shot earlier, was the one they killed. Earl shows Billy Virgil's lifeless body and taunts him, saying he understands brotherly bonds because he was close to his own brother. Earl turns to reveal his conjoined twin, whose lifeless body is still attached to him. Earl reminisces about his brother, who wasn't sociable, but was the best ice cream salesman when performing as Little Willie during puppet shows. Enraged, Billy curses Earl.
Go to hell, you freak! Look first.
Later, Earl is seen driving his ice cream truck, his twin's corpse still attached to him. A child approaches and comments on the smell, but Earl brushes it off and continues driving, talking to his brother's remains as they disappear down the road. In our second to last segment from Season 3, Episode 5, a story titled Top Billing. Barry Bly walks into a dimly lit office, clutching a thin rope. He approaches Sheila Winters, who is at her desk and distracted by a phone call, and proceeds to strangle her. However, Sheila responds by thanking him for coming in, revealing the moment to be a casting audition. Sheila, the casting director, insists Barry is wrong for the part, prompting the desperate actor to beg for a chance. Despite his pleas, he leaves frustrated and empty-handed, passing a long line of actors who bear a resemblance to him. On his way out, he bumps into Wynton Robbins, a former roommate and rival actor. Wynton, more talented and handsome than Barry, brags about his recent commercial successes and his strategic branding. Jealous and bitter, Barry mocks Wynton for prioritizing money over artistry. He then shows Wynton a flyer for an upcoming Hamlet audition, only for Wynton to mock the idea of doing free theater in such a run-down area. Barry's life spirals downward. His agent drops him, bluntly stating that he doesn't have the look for Hollywood. He returns to his apartment only to find his girlfriend Lisa moving out. Adding insult to injury, he learns he is being evicted. The landlord locks him out while devouring the last of a chicken dinner Lisa had left behind for Barry. Determined to salvage his dreams, Barry goes to the Hamlet audition the next day. He discovers the theater's entrance hidden in a strange alley. To his annoyance, Wynton is already there, having decided to audition to prove that looks matter more than talent in casting. A peculiar stagehand named Beeks ushers them inside, where they witness the intense and erratic director Nelson Hallowell berating an actor.
Excellent and fancy. He hath
Oh, no! 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 It's wrong! It's all wrong! Hamlet is holding in his hands the skull of Yorick. He sees what 20 years of rotting in the ground have done to his friend. That is why he is so upset.
Halliwell demands raw, visceral performances, insisting the actor kiss a plastic skull. When the actor falters, Halliwell dismisses him in frustration, muttering, "I've lost another one." Barry and Winton meet Halliwell in his office, a cramped closet filled with props. Halliwell rambles about his vision for a groundbreaking, realistic production of Hamlet. Sensing the director's instability, Winton tries to leave, but Halliwell suddenly offers him the lead role, claiming Winton has the look.
I want to bring to the stage a Hamlet that will look and feel and be so real that the people will stumble from their seats, tumble from the theater, their minds reeling, and wrench their guts up on the curb.
Yeah. It's all yours, Barry. Break a leg. Break both.
You!
Yes.
High cheekbones, fair skin, slightly frosted hair. You must be Danish.
Actually, I'm Polish.
Perfect, I knew it. The part is yours.
What? What?
Barry seethes as Halliwell introduces a smug Winton to the cast. Later, Barry sneaks into the dressing room while Winton is trying on his costume. Winton smugly reiterates his belief that acting is about marketability and ticket sales, not artistry. As he rambles, Winton notices a strange tag inside his costume marked Yorick, which puzzles him. Barry snaps, strangling Winton with a rope while reciting Hamlet's lines.
Why? Are you out of your mind? No, rat. And dead for a ducat. That's Hamlet. And Act 3, Scene 4. Hamlet. I'm not Hamlet.
Winton gasps, "I'm not Hamlet," before succumbing. Barry hides Winton's body in a laundry room, but is briefly distracted by a phone ringing in a locked room nearby. Returning to the stage, Barry lies to Halliwell, claiming Winton quit due to stage fright. Halliwell seems unfazed and casts Barry in the role of Hamlet. As Barry rehearses in costume, Halliwell and the crew approach him, announcing it's time for the final run-through. Barry, confused since he has barely had time to prepare, notices the tag Winton found earlier. It identifies the costume not as Hamlet's, but as Yorick's. Horrified, Barry realizes they intend for him to play the role of the deceased jester. Halliwell gleefully admits they have struggled to cast the part because someone keeps stealing the skull prop. Panic-stricken, Barry tries to escape but is cornered. He locks himself in the room with the ringing phone, only to discover it is filled with corpses. The phone connects him to a frantic doctor trying to reach the missing staff. Barry's horror deepens as he realizes the theater is actually a mental institution where the patients have murdered the staff and taken over.
Hello? Oh, hello. Thank goodness. We've been trying to call you for hours. Dr. Morrison, are you there? Hello?
I know how you feel.
Hello, Dr. Morrison?
I really wanted someone with high cheekbones.
What are those voices? Dr. Morrison, are you all right?
Your friend looked much more the part. But don't worry.
What is going on over there?
It's showtime!
Halliwell and the others break into the room and kill Barney with an axe. In the final scene, Barry's skull is gruesomely repurposed as a prop for the production of Hamlet, fulfilling Halliwell's twisted vision.
Jest of most excellent fancy.
I think I was wrong about the young man. He does have the look, after all.
My imagination it is. My gorge rises at it.
Our final segment of this video is one of my favorite episodes, titled My Brother's Keeper. Eddie and Frank, conjoined twins with starkly different personalities, Eddie being the abrasive, selfish one, and Frank the kind-hearted one, have always struggled with their situation. For years, no doctor could offer them a viable solution to separate. One night after a miserable outing, Eddie convinces Frank to visit a doctor who claims he can perform the operation to separate them. However, Both twins must sign a medical release form to proceed. Eager to be free, Eddie signs immediately, but Frank hesitates, unsettled by the 50% risk of death. The doctor clarifies that unless Frank also signs, the operation cannot happen. Back at their home, Eddie tries to sway Frank by emphasizing the benefits of being separated. He points out that Frank could enjoy privacy, attend events of his choice, sleep in his own bed, and even take the cooking class in Paris he's always dreamed about. Though Frank begins to consider it, his doubts persist. Eddie produces the release form, attempting to pressure Frank into signing, but Frank pulls back at the last moment. Their conversation is interrupted by a call from Maria, a woman Frank met earlier at a bar. She asks to see him again, and Frank, elated, agrees. On Friday night, Frank prepares for his date with Maria, while Eddie, disheveled and unkempt, refuses to clean up unless Frank signs the release form. Frank dismisses him and insists they attend the symphony together. At the event, Eddie behaves obnoxiously, drawing unwanted attention and eventually ruining the evening by getting drunk. Since they share a circulatory system, Frank becomes tipsy as well. Despite the chaos, Frank admits he enjoyed Maria's company.
I know you tried to ruin it for me, but you didn't. I'm happy, happy, happy. And you know why? Because I'm in love.
Weeks later, Frank and Maria's relationship has progressed, and they are seen together in bed, fully clothed. Meanwhile, Eddie has invited a prostitute over. When both women go to the bathroom, Maria encounters the prostitute, who cryptically suggests that if Frank signs the release form, he and Eddie can finally be free from one another. When Maria returns, she confronts Frank, saying she cannot continue their relationship while he remains attached to Eddie. Heartbroken, Maria leaves, and Frank tries to chase after her, only to be thwarted by Eddie, who has handcuffed himself to the bed. Eventually, Eddie drunkenly gives Frank the key, but by the time Frank unlocks him, Maria is gone. Furious, Frank blames Eddie for sabotaging his one chance at happiness. After a heated argument, Frank finally decides to sign the release form. Before Frank can act, Maria returns, confessing her love for him. She reveals that Eddie hired her to manipulate Frank into signing the release form, but that she genuinely fell for Frank in the process. Their reconciliation is short-lived, as Eddie, enraged by Maria's betrayal, murders her with a meat cleaver.
Kids. Now, I'll never get rid of them. Darling? I felt you stiffen. Am I rushing things?
Oh my God! Oh my God! What did you do?
Double-crossing bitch wouldn't keep her mouth shut, Frank.
Eddie calls 911 to report the crime. He taunts Frank, pointing out that they can't give him the capital punishment because Frank, who is innocent, would die too. Overcome with grief and rage, Frank downs Eddie's alcohol, intending to put a permanent end to their living nightmare.
I thought you'd like to live dangerously, Eddie. Ever since we were kids, I've had to put up with you being a bad one. Make excuses for you. Clean up after you. Apologize for you. Well, that's a lot. Responsibility. Having to be the good one all the time. Frank, you're killing us.
Before passing out, Frank dips a pen into Maria's blood and signs the release form. The next day, the twins awaken in a hospital bed. Eddie is surprised when police officers arrive to arrest him. Smug, Eddie assumes nothing can be done, given their conjoined state. Frank, however, smiles and says,
We're not freaks, Eddie. We're free. Or at least, I am.
Hey, you're over there!
Oh, did I forget to mention? I signed Dr. Schnellkraut's release form. He did a pretty good job, don't you think?
No! Don't let him take me away from you, Frank! They're gonna put me in the gas!
Oh, what's come over you, big brother?
They're gonna put me in the gas chamber!
As Eddie's bed is wheeled away, it's revealed that the operation was successfully performed while Eddie was unconscious. Both twins are now separated, with Eddie handcuffed to his bed. Frank, relieved to finally be rid of Eddie, rests on his hospital bed. As a nurse fluffs his pillow, he makes a flirtatious remark, hinting that he may have absorbed some of Eddie's brash personality traits.
Uniform, I'm thinking there's a studded leather corset just itching to come out. Am I right?
Thank you all so much for watching. As I mentioned at the start of the video, this is our 5th episode on Tales from the Crypt. With that in mind, I've created a playlist for these videos. If you haven't seen the previous recaps, feel free to check them out. I've also made a few other recap videos for other horror movies, TV shows, and video games. I've got hundreds of videos of me playing horror games as well, if that's your thing. If you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing and sharing these videos. It really helps. With all that being said, take care, have a good weekend, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next one.
Tales from the Crypt.